everyone, I'm here today to do another reading wrap up for you of another 5 books that I have read this year. I'm losing my voice still, so I'm going to try and keep this video quite short and sweet. The first book I want to talk to you about today is How to Be a Woman by Caitlin Moran, and I listened to this book on audiobook. I gave it 5 stars and I can't believe I did that. It definitely caught me by surprise. I didn't expect to love this book half as much as what I did. This is her sort of memoir and also works as a feminist piece of literature, and she reads the audiobook out herself, so I can highly recommend you listen to it if you want to hear it read by her personally, which works very, very well. As I always say, books that are read by the author always work so much better. As I said, I went into this book not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, mainly because I've never really been that interested in reading about sort of feminism. It's not something that interests me personally, so I don't deliberately seek out literature on the topic. So to pick up this book was sort of quite a step for me almost, but I'd heard many things about it. Several friends had told me to read it, so I couldn't deny the fact that I'd been recommended it so many times, so I picked it up, and as I said, I was really surprised by it. I found myself laughing along to some of the anecdotes in there. I thought it was fabulous. It caught my attention beautifully. It wasn't too heavy-handed with the feminism. The pace was great. The humour mixed with just everything that was so interesting in there just worked brilliantly for me, and I highly enjoyed it. If you want to see a more in-depth review, I will be filming a review for this book at some point, but I will leave links to all my written reviews for all the books that I mentioned in this video down below. The next book I want to talk to you about is The Complete Alice in Wonderland, and this is a graphic novel version by Leah Moore. I was a little bit disappointed by this book. I received a copy of it from the publisher via NetGalley in return for an honest review, and I gave this book 2 stars. I was expecting to enjoy it a lot more than I did. Obviously, I'm very familiar with the story of Alice in Wonderland, and this actually covers Through the Looking Glass as well, which is a part of the book that I have not read before. So I was really excited for that, but I just found overall it just didn't work as well as I wanted it to. The author did a good job in sort of converting the plot to a graphic novel in the sense of it worked. There was nothing that left you confused. The story went from beginning to end. It didn't miss anything major out, but I just felt like it just all jumped through too quickly. It might have worked better being several editions maybe, rather than just one edition that felt really rushed and just not done as well as it could have been done, is how I ended up feeling at the end. I will say that the artwork was absolutely stunning in this one, so if you want to pick it up for the artwork, I certainly wouldn't blame you. Then the next book I want to talk to you about is James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. And this is another one of my buddy reads this year with Caris of our Roald Dahl books. And this one, I can safely say it's not one of my favourite Roald Dahl books. I gave it 3 stars, and that's mainly because I didn't really connect with the story. It was an entertaining story. I can see why, as ever, it's one of Dahl's classics. It's worth reading, but I just felt like maybe it's one of those books that are better suited for little boys rather than women. I just thought it was okay, nothing more than that. It wasn't necessarily a story that I might even have enjoyed as a young girl. I feel like it was very much a little boy kind of adventure, and that's fine. Not all his books can suit everyone. It's still well worth picking up, especially if you've got a younger child. Then I listened to another audiobook, and I listened to Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman, and this one, I don't want to use the words disappointed me again, because that seems to be a bit of a theme of this video, but I had higher hopes for it than perhaps what it delivered. I've heard very good things about the Netflix series, and I hadn't got around to watching it yet on Netflix. When I discovered that it was originally a book, I thought, well, I'll read the book first before I check out the series. So I still haven't checked out the series, but the books almost put me off a little bit. I just thought it was a bit dull. It starts off really strong. I found the whole story behind why she ends up in prison, which is her real story. This really happened to her. I found it really, really interesting, and that definitely caught my attention wonderfully. However, then it all just sort of went a bit downhill for me, and while she was in prison I found that quite, for want of a better word, quite dull. And the audiobook again worked well, although it was narrated by a narrator, and so maybe that didn't work quite as well for me as maybe we should have read it ourselves, I don't know. But yeah, it was okay. That's the theme of this video, it was okay. And the final book I want to talk to you about today is Scooby Apocalypse by Keith Giffen. And I received this book from the publisher via NetGalley in return for an honest review, and I gave it 4 stars. Now this one was a little bit different to what I was expecting. It was actually more like a reboot of the series rather than sort of like a continuation on of what I'd grown up with. But that was okay, because I feel like it was interesting and I can't wait to see where it's going to go from there. So for example, Daphne and Fred have got a show together. Shaggy is a dog trainer, and you can see that these are all going to link up in future comics, but it doesn't so much in this one. And it did enough to pull me in and make me want to read more, and that's exactly what a comic of this sort of type should do. Hook you in, then leave you hanging for the next edition, so then you go and get the next edition. And I will definitely be continuing on with this series. I can't wait to see where they're going to go with this reboot. I think it works really well and I highly recommend it. So thank you very much for watching this wrap up. If you have read any of the books and you want to comment about any of them, or if you want to read any of them, then leave me a comment down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!